Hey everybody, it is Ben, aka the Fuseboxx, coming to you with another Fuseboxx Engaged. Coming one day after the premiere of my first edited video of the year, the Blade Devil Ghosts of the Past review. I was quite proud of it, and it looks like it's doing pretty well. I mean, pretty well for my channel, which is not amazing, but it's good for me, so I like that. And I am here with a couple of guests. This first guest is actually new to the show, but I met him a couple of times. It is John Harvey.
What's up, Ben? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How you doing?
Man, I'm chilling. You know, I was gonna go binge some Stranger Things, but I was like, hey, let me go hang out with my man for a while.
Well, I appreciate that.
You got that?
And we are, of course, here with our usual, the woman who likes to, jab me and attack me at every turn. It is Rosetta.
Hi.
And she's out in the field today.
Not really field. Climbing up onto the...
What is that? What?
Gotta go up the steep stairs at the beginning of the trail.
Oh, good Lord.
That's a great view, but I'm glad I'm not doing the stairs.
Just remember, all the scientists say beware of rattlesnakes. I mean...
I'm assuming that because you're up north, there isn't a lot of humidity.
Usually this area isn't too bad because the Black Hills are high-altitude desert forest. But there's been so many hail and rainstorms for the last 3 weeks, it is humid as all muggy hell.
Well, lordy. It is Nathan Stein from the Arkham Outpost. What is going on over there in Arkham? Is the Joker still in custody? That is my question.
You know the answer to that is always no.
Lordy. Well, I'm mesmerized by this wilderness.
Yeah, no, it's pretty. I mean, you can see hills. It's really green. It's really green. It's pretty.
Why do we pay the people at Arkham? Like, what's the point? What is the point?
I think Joker pays them more.
I mean, it's like all of our tax dollars go to keeping these people incarcerated, and they just keep getting out.
It's a revolving door. Arkham is a revolving door, man.
Well, yeah, I think you have got a project that is currently live.
I do, brother. I do.
That was my segue. Let me see.
It was the sucky one, Ben, dear.
Look, I'm distracted by the wilderness.
So am I. I only showed up because I feel sorry for you. I mean...
You don't need to feel sorry for me. I just put out an awesome review, and it's really awesome and sexy, and everybody needs to click on it and watch it. And this is Magna and the Posse.
That's right. It's actually a campaign with 3 different books in it. In retrospect, don't know if that was a smart move, but
I think that's a good idea. I mean, just to get everybody caught up.
Yeah. So I mean, what's new is Volume 2 of Magna and Volume 1 of the Posse. So some people had already gotten Volume 1 of Magna, so you can get all 3 in this one campaign. It's all this stuff happens in the same universe, along with another book series that I've written called Black Tiger. So just like a lot of folks, man, just having fun, trying to world build, and
Amen.
You know what I'm talking about.
I love world building.
Yeah.
And I find like it's a little tricky in comics just because like you don't want to just post like a page with a big wall of text that says oh, like this is the world and this is what happened and this it's like you want it to flow naturally into the story.
Yeah.
So it gets difficult the more lore you add.
Well, that's the truth. I mean, and that was kind of the reason I've released things the way that I have. Like my graphic novels have been pretty big. So like each of these 3 graphic novels is 76 pages. And the reason being is it's like you said, man, it's like you're trying to unravel the world in an organic way without just saying like, hey, this is that. But it's like trying to let people experience it.
Exactly.
But, as kind of like things unravel around them. And like for me, growing up, not only did I always love comics, but I'm always been a big role player, like role-playing games. So I always liked the idea of like almost building an engine for your world.
Yeah.
So you're trying to show people, because like when you have a role-playing game, you know how the engine works. But here I'm trying to show people how the engine works without saying it.
Yeah. Totally. And I mean, and I remember looking at this campaign on Karshina's stream.
Yeah.
And I was digging the mythological elements. Like, it looks like you're incorporating some real world myths in this.
I am. So there's some Norse mythology, some Egyptian, some Chinese, some Greek mythology, and just like I said, I mean, I'm an old school D&D head, so being able to incorporate all these different mythologies into one world, I'm like, oh heck yeah, let's go.
I love that, like, because I'm big into mythology. Like, I'm currently trying to work on my own, which is like kind of a fusion of most of the mythologies that you could think of, except
nice.
I have like very, very, very little Egyptian though. Like,
okay.
Because I'm not super well. Like, I don't know too much about it.
Yeah, that's cool. So are you working? Is that for a comic or is that for a game?
I was thinking comic, possibly graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I might, if I ever get the discipline to do it, I might try to write it as a novel.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I just don't have the patience to write that much. Like,
yeah, novel writing is definitely different. I mean, I've successfully written one novel, but I haven't published it because, like you said, it's just writing is rewriting. So I've taken a couple of cuts at it, but I still know it's not ready, and something it's a little bit daunting. I'm like, I put it down for long periods of time, and then I'll pick it up and I'll feel inspired. And then I'll be like, okay, that was a lot.
That's almost everything I've done has been like that, where I'm like, I'm inspired, I do a bunch of it, then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna put it away for a couple of days, and then a couple of days turns into a few months.
And the couple of days turns into months or years while you do a million other projects.
Exactly.
It's very much a normal artist thing.
I think
it really is.
That is the challenge, right? It's like you've got this inspiration to do something cool, but then it's like bringing something all the way to fruition.
Well, because being an artist and being ADHD are not very far apart. That's what I mean.
Fair enough. That's fair. That's
yeah.
Very fair.
I would agree with Nathan Stein. Like, I think everybody needs to learn mythology just because it's way more fun than like
it's more than that.
Explanation.
It's more than that. Mythology is how you explain the psychological development of a species, of a culture, of a section of humanity. We develop our mythology based on what we experience and our culture's interpretation of it. If you want to understand a culture, see the mythology.
I concur with that.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, and that's what makes it fun too, though. Especially when you're integrating it into a story. you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I attempted to do here with these different mythologies. You know, there's very I think organic ways that you could have fun, you know, with other cultures without, you know, beating people upside the head and, you know, just making it like a damn ticket.
Or just being disrespectful, like a lot of them do, where they just take names and characters from mythology and completely bastardize them for whatever agenda they have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but if you're going to do characters where you're swapping things around and changing main character points, don't take them from mythology or history, because you're screwing with people's actual cultures and families.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
I'm sensing a commentary about Marvel in there somewhere.
Disney. I mean,
that's all an interesting phenomenon that's going on, because, you know, the question is like, who are they doing that for? You know?
Yeah, it's like they're just doing it for their own egos.
Yeah, or it's their own sense of something. I don't know what it is, you know, or what the ultimate end game is. But some of these things that they're doing are so bad, and you're just like, come on. Like, I look at some of these things, just to be real, I look at some of these things and I'm like, look, I know they're using black characters, but black people are not doing that. I'm sorry, because black folks don't even want to see that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
it's like this whole thing where they're advertising the new Predator thing, and the first thing they do is portray this little native girl who's being told she can't be a hunter because she's female. It's like, there's almost no tribes that ever did that. We had female braves.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't even respect the culture, and the culture was actually more forward for women than the cultures that you're complaining about.
Well, that's the thing. That's what's so weird. It's like, instead of embracing history and enjoying it, I mean, that's one of the things that I love so much about, like, the show Vikings. Of course, you know, there was a lot of, you know, they did their own storytelling, but when you kind of see that, and I'm like, that makes sense. You know, you got these shield maidens, you got, you know, and you're like, that's cool. You know, it's like, you don't need to go and then say, okay, well, you know, let's bastardize this and let's make Ragnar a woman. You know, it's like, why? You don't need to do that. You know, I mean, you have characters like Lagertha that are bad in their own right and in their own way.
And that's the whole trying to make a female Thor thing made zero sense. It's insulting to the mythology, and it's not needed. There's a lot of kick-ass psycho warrior babes in that culture's mythology.
Yeah. No, exactly. And the thing is, that's across mythology, and that's one of the things that I had fun with in doing Magna. You know, I used existing mythos, male and female characters, to build that. There's, you know, I didn't have to contrive anything, didn't have to make any of those characters anything that, you know, that was different than the way they were written or you know, described in poetry or in, you know, or in kind of historical texts. It is what it is, you know, and it's one thing to be able to kind of, and like you said, it helps you to understand a culture, but it helps you to also understand, it's like, you know, I know our culture hates this, but it's like, there are roles that people need to be able to play in this world, you know, and those roles are distinct. There are things that women can do that men can't do, despite the fact that we don't like to believe that.
And there are things that men can do that most women can't. The thing is, there are always outliers. There are very strong women and very weak men. There are men who can multitask when most can't. There are women who suck at it. There are outliers. There always will be. But statistically, most people of each gender fall into specific kinds of strength and mental ability. And that's because of adaptation of the species and learning to live and thrive in different regions. Women had to be able to multitask. We had to be able to do all these things because we had to be able to protect the child while taking care of things, while cooking, while we had to. Men were hunter-gatherers. They had to be single-focused. They had to have pinion reflexes and pay attention. They had to.
Yeah.
And it's okay to acknowledge that we developed differently because we are different but equal.
And
when people forget, that's the true meaning of equal, not the same.
No, exactly. And the whole, like, our misperception of what, you know, equality means. It's funny. It's like, hey, you know, there's no two people that are exactly the same. That doesn't mean that people don't have value. We try to make people the same, you know? So it's like, hey, if you have a gift, then you know what, that needs to be reduced, because you can't outshine the rest. I mean, you can't outshine the rest of the pack in that area that you're strong in. Instead of saying, like, that's what you thrive at, that's what you need to be doing, let me let you take the wheel there. Let me let you do that.
Every culture, every background has things that breed, that section of humanity develops better at because of where they live. They have different physical and medical needs than each other. There are reasons why certain medical conditions are really common in some races and not in others. Yeah. It all has to do with adaptation and the regions that we all came from. And it's okay to acknowledge those things.
That's right.
In fact, it's part of respecting who we are, is respecting the differences and what our ancestors had to overcome for us to exist.
I agree completely with that.
Hell yeah.
You know what? I think, honestly,
let's have honor for those who are in the Black community. Let's have honor for what they had to overcome in Africa to survive. And there's a reason why some of those stereotypical things like the hips and the lips and stuff came to be, and it has to do with survival in that region.
Well, so that's the thing we have to realize.
Celebrate.
I mean, differences are there and they're distinct and they're for a reason. It's like one of my buddies from Nigeria. His mom only comes out during the summer. We think it's blazing. She thinks it's great. It's like she's not going to visit Norway in the winter. It's never going to happen. She's not built for that. She's not made for that. Well, shoot, I'm not made for that.
Compare me to my mother, me and my tribal side, my family side. So we have my dad's side of the family, Lakota, lived in the frigid North and Midwest and plains and stuff of this continent, thousands years. Adapted to places that get -40, -50, -60 degrees.
Yeah.
I overheat like nobody's business, easy as all hell. I go out in winter in -30 and I'm hiking around like it's nothing.
Yeah.
My mom sits there and freezes when it's like 60 degrees because she's got all that Celtic and Irish blood in her, and her family spent a lot of time in hotter regions. So me and my mom are like completely polar opposites genetically when it comes to dealing with temperatures and climate and stuff.
Yeah.
And it happens. It's part of that development.
Yeah, I always feel like it's it's a loud minority, that drives a lot of what happens.
Yeah.
It's a very
a lot of it are white savior complex liberals who think they have to speak for women and minorities, even though they don't know what it means to be us.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's crazy about it, and because it's frustrating seeing some of the things that are being done. But because somebody was asking me about this whole Miles Morales thing, and I'm like, look, there's no black person that asked for Miles Morales to become Thor. There's none. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was just kind of out of left field. Like nobody would think of that
because it shouldn't be thought. I mean,
all this stuff complaining about the native stuff and everything. And first of all, other than the idiot who wrote it, nobody native wanted that bastardization of native culture that they called a version of Captain America. It insulted like 30 tribes in one shot with the stereotypes they used. Let's put that flat out. And yeah, and then why is it that every time that Marvel and Disney write a native character, they give it Hispanic names, like they don't know that there's a difference between us?
That's true.
It's like, and then they all go, well, it was somebody with native ties who did it. That doesn't mean they know their heritage, or it doesn't mean they don't respect it. 90 to 95% of natives like native caricatures and emblems. They don't care about things like Redskins. We are the highest percentage pro-life and pro-gun and pro-military. So They portray us as these like tree-hugging hippie left-wing bitches, and we're not like that, with the exception of like 2 little tribes out in Washington. It's like, who the hell do you think you're talking about? That's not who we are. We're warriors.
Yeah.
Freaking hell. It's the white savior complex. They have to speak for us. If we don't know our own culture better than they can know it from states or countries away,
Yeah. That's why it's important, though, to preserve your culture,
Mm-hmm.
Because they're the ones talking about, appropriating and misappropriating, but they're the ones that are doing it.
Plus, I mean, whenever I think about like the term of cultural appropriation, like it's like they apply it anytime cultures start to mix together, but it's like that's ultimately how cultures are formed.
Yeah, cultures have always developed and borrowed from each other. Look, everyone always talks about, well, you wouldn't have modern rock and metal without the gospel era from the black community. That's true, but you wouldn't have had the gospel era from the black community without borrowing from the hymns and a lot of Celtic music. So, I mean, this is what happens. We develop from each other. We adapt from each other. We take elements of each other and combine it into something new. It's happened back and forth in multiple cultures since time began.
Yeah, it's funny. I forgot. I was on a show over a year ago, and I was when Magna first came out, and some dude jumped into the chat, and you could tell he was just a rabble rouser, just total SJW dude. And then he actually puts in the chat, why is this guy appropriating Norwegian culture? And I was like, I'm not appropriating anything, dude. I love it. I think it's awesome. And that's the reason why I use, some, Norse mythology in the book. If you
I love mythology from around the world. I think if they really want to honor all these communities, we need to start doing more true mythology, not just doing the same 5 cultures mythologies over and over. Why is it they always talk about trying to give voices to blacks, but you're not hearing the actual stories of African mythology and struggles dealing with headhunters and stuff in the old days there and all that stuff. Things that really were part of what the development of the whole black community was, and things that they deserve the right to be heard of and know.
One of the things I'm looking to do kind of as the series moves is you kind of start with some, some cultural mythologies and pantheons that you're familiar with, and then you start to integrate some that you're less familiar with. And that's fun. I think for people that's educational, that's fun. I mean, I remember, playing D&D back in the day, and it's like, you have the things that the Greek mythology, the Assyria.
Well, I mean, most people know the basic of the Greek mythology. Do most people realize there's over 300 Greek goddesses alone, not even counting the men?
No.
How many of them could list a bunch of them? I can. I mean, how many people know the word like pancreas actually came from the name of a goddess who had to do with purification and health?
Yeah. It's funny. A lot of people don't even know that Nike is a Greek goddess.
Oh, I know that.
Mm-hmm. I've been mythology and history obsessed since I could read, which was 3, and this has been my study my whole life, and I find it fascinating how much people don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why I like finding the most obscure stuff and referencing it. How many people remember that Medusa had sisters?
Yeah, the Gorgon sisters. Yeah.
And that she wasn't a freaking villain. She was basically, they were granted eternal life because they were considered prettier and better than her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was repeatedly screwed over by them and ultimately ended up dying to protect these people who were abusing her.
Yay.
She was a tragic victim.
Yeah. Yeah, she
I
was
thought-
cursed.
And you can portray her like a villain now.
Yeah, I thought, wasn't she cursed by Athena?
Was it Hera?
It was one
It
of
was
those.
Hera. Hera cursed
Hera.
everybody. Hera was a psychopath.
Hera was not playing, man. You did not want to get on her wrong side.
Yeah, and how many people got on her wrong side just because Zeus was a man-ho who wanted to bang everything God and human alike?
Yeah, he was a hoe. An absolute hoe.
I loved that's the thing. We were talking a little while ago. We were just talking about how mythologies were kind of what shaped, based on people's cultural development and perspective. It's funny how you think about with Greek mythology, there's so much sex.
There is in most mythology. But let's talk about culture. I'm driving through Sturgis right now. Let's talk about culture. Biker culture is actually a culture. It is its own thing. It is all about freedom of the road and learning history of the world. It is a beautiful culture, actually. And the rally will be here in about just over 2 months.
Is that right?
Actually, just under 2 months. Sorry. It is the end of June already. Crap. I mean,
Hera was a sociopath.
See, but that's a whole another aspect. That's not a culture that I'm familiar with. I mean, of course I know it exists, but I don't know it. I can't speak.
Yeah, I don't know it either.
I grew up not even a half-hour drive from here. I spent my life around Sturgis bikers. I'm the biker chick, and the thing is, none of us are the way that. You want to talk about expensive? Let's look at how they treated the biker in Captain America. No bikers like that. The other bikers would have hung him up by his toes if he was that whiny. First of all, second of all, he still stole a guy's bike just because he's talked to her.
Yeah.
After she assaulted him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But she's a hero, guys.
No, she's not. She's a sociopath who in the comics kills freaking Iron Man.
But
She's a totalitarian that Magneto called a Nazi.
But she's a hero.
No, she's not.
Because she's
No.
female.
I know you're being a smartass, but no, hell no, she's not. I hate that woman. I hate that character. I always have. The only good thing she ever did was get zapped by Rogue. I mean,
You know, like eventually when they get desperate, they're probably going to try to shoehorn that in somehow, but it's going to be really lame.
it is. How are they going to work that in when they've already done all this vagina power and made all the female heroes love each other? How are they going to work in that she annoyed Rogue and Rogue zapped her for her powers and left her in a coma?
Probably like Captain Marvel will like say something like that's like she'll make like a microaggression against women or something.
Well, it's too late for that because like I mean the Captain Marvel that she is now, I mean that was basically Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
You know, that whole adventure, and that whole adventure was very dark. If you because like I had that from back in the day with Marcus and all that. I mean, it's like it was a very dark story arc, you know, that kind of happened to Carol Danvers. I liked old Carol Danvers. I liked her.
I didn't.
I did. I liked her, but then she definitely became something that was like, woo. Yeah,
Part of it I think, also is they took the name, tweaked it very slightly, and then just wrote in this little blonde girl who could basically do no wrong. And even then, she was treated a bit too much like that, as kind of this replacement to an actually really unique and good black character that they ignored.
Yeah.
And it was really awkward and weird even then in the comics. And all these people talking about let's give people more voices, then why weren't they clamoring to have the true Miss Marvel? And they're not having it now either. Now it's some Middle Eastern Muslim woman. That wasn't her character either.
No.
So they've completely discarded the original character who was a strong, kind, compassionate, intellectual, intelligent, well-spoken, beautiful black woman who was a great character for minority kids to look up to.
Yeah, she did. I had that old run of Avengers too. That was. No, you're right. I mean, it's like there's a lot of ways to do things right, and they're obviously not trying to do things right. So you're like, okay, so what's the end game here?
Well, it's like it's almost like they don't
point?
actually. It's almost like they don't actually really go over the source material, and I think that's ultimately the bottom line. Is like they just kind of see like, okay, well, this character was kind of obscure, so we can just do whatever we want with that character because nobody's gonna know, you know, like. We'll just turn him into a mouthpiece for whatever we want to talk about at that moment.
I sometimes wonder if it's a hate campaign such that the end goal is that they'll be able to say like, hey, look, female characters and minority characters don't sell. Because I don't know, because I can't make sense of it. Because I'm like, you're doing a bunch of stuff that sucks. And it's not because these characters are female or minority, it's because these suck. These ideas suck. You know, it's like
I've been trying, and I'm still studying the art because I'm not going to do these like get the art perfect because I have to have all this family stuff tied to it. I've been trying to write this whole series on different female braves in my tribe since I was a child, and I'm still going to try to do this as a comic series. But the art has to be perfect. It has to combine my style with family lineage. It has to combine my style with Andrew Standing Soldier and his tribal paintings that were infamous for tribal culture. It has to look like that, and I'm not going to do it until I can do that well.
Yeah.
But I've been writing this for years, and it's true, but it would offend the left, because if they actually studied in the Lakota why we had the female braves, these were the women who lost part of the honor of being a woman because they couldn't reproduce. So they wanted to earn it back, because the greatest honor is the givers of life, the women of the tribe.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean,
that's held it's not held as a duty, it's held as the sacred honor that women are revered as the givers of life.
See, that in and of itself would kind of turn these folks upside down, because for some reason we've come to this idea that men should be able to give birth, and that, you know.
Well, they've also come up with this idea that somehow you're not strong, you're not female, you're not empowered, you're not anything if it bothers you if you can't have children as a woman. It's like, for women, I remember the feminists protested when freaking Age of Ultron came out because of that being a part of the backstory of Black Widow, that she was sterilized and it hurt her. I remember the leftists and the feminists protesting it then.
Yeah. It was all just a front.
And I'm sorry, but that's one of the few places where I actually felt connected to the characters. Where even though I have a lot of problems with that movie, I felt it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm a rowdy headbanger. I'm a biker chick. I'm a mountain girl. I grew up hiking and rock climbing and all that. I'm as far from a dainty girly girl. I'm as far into what they consider the strong women as you can get. I was a carpenter. I worked in wrestling.
Nice.
But I'm still a woman. I wanted to have a family. Yeah. It bothers me I couldn't.
Yeah.
It still does, years later. And they don't seem to get it. Because they want us to act like that's not part of what we biologically are built to do.
Well, when you think about it, it's the weird thing is it's like this whole movement has taken and tried to almost trivialize women in so many different ways. So it's like for me, I do have a daughter. I have a niece, and she's a basketball player. And she's like a top level basketball player in California. She got hurt really badly playing against this one guy. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, it's a dude. You know, and you know who's become a top level player.
Hindsight, I'm really not happy that my wrestling experiences were co-ed, and that's a whole other rant. Hindsight is a bitch, and it wasn't because the guys were beating me. It was because guys are guys, and when you get a bunch of teenage boys with one girl in the group and they're trying to pin her to the ground, guess what? They don't act right.
They don't act right. No, you're 100% right. You know, they don't act right. And I'm like, listen, you know, at the end of the day, you know, what we need to do is it's like, you want people, they talk about this quote unquote equality, then let people compete. You know, let women have their sports, let men have their sports. And if you want to create a whole nother section, then do that. If you want to have a trans sports section, then do that.
If you want to have trans, if you want to have co-ed and stuff, that have that option, but it shouldn't be their only option. Yeah. And that's the problem. And I realized the reason mine was that problem was because I went through wrestling and, you know, Job Corps and then college, and these were small areas and they didn't have enough people for female teams.
Oh, okay.
But it still causes problems even then. And there's got to be ways to work with people, you know?
Yeah.
Because there is such a thing as safety has to be a part of it. And you're not safe as the only girl in a group full of guys doing wrestling, especially when you got teenage boys pumped full of testosterone fighting each other.
Exactly. And it's like they'll almost go harder, you know, because they don't want to be the dude that got pinned by the strong girl, you know.
Oh no, God, the guys that tortured each other when I pinned them. There was only one guy in that group that I wasn't scared of trying to get handsy with me. However, I didn't want to fight him because he also had 6 different black belts and was a martial arts instructor.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I'm sitting there going, we would all fight over. No, you wrestle him today. No, I don't want to die. This is also the guy who was willing to kill people if they crossed me, though, and knocked the guys out several times when they were trying to get up with me. So he was interesting.
Yeah.
Bummer. Yeah.
We need more
Oh
martial
God,
artists.
yeah, we had the wolves that hung out on campus too. But the job corps I went to was interesting because it's out in the middle of Montana in the mountains. So it was, you walk out in the morning and there's a mountain lion stretched across your bench outside your dorm. It's like, good morning.
Oh wow,
That's a lot. That's a lot.
There were 3 wolves that would come on campus all the time and just hang out near the students.
Oh gosh, yeah.
To the point where the students named them and hung out with them.
I'm not a nature boy like that. I'll tell you, we went to an animal reserve, okay? This is an animal reserve. We're there with the family, everything is cool. It's starting to get a little bit dark, and the wolves are in their cage, right? Man, those wolves started howling. I said, okay, pack it up, time to go.
And I actually had an encounter with a wolf a few feet from me when I was trying to do sunrise photos on Mount Coolidge this year.
Yeah. I don't ever need to hear a wolf like howl in like real life ever again. I was like, oh hey, pack it up. It was like the Griswolds rolling up the windows. I was like, yep,
I have dealt with some crazy wildlife. I have photographed the one-eyed badger. The infamous, there's nothing meaner than a one-eyed badger. I've photographed the badger who's missing an eye.
Wonder what happened to the other one. Or to the other creature that
probably lost it climbing in the prairie dog holes eating them. Because prairie dogs have teeth like beavers, and they bite everything.
Well, they make you pay. That's food that makes you pay.
But he's had one eye for like 4 years, and I can still find him out there, and he's still jumping in prairie dog holes and eating them.
Wow.
And the other predators in that area, because he's in an area where wolves, coyotes, mountain lions, and stuff are heavy, they leave him alone.
I just come from a land of alligators and nutria and raccoons.
My one experience going to the South that I will never forget, trying to drive down the highway in Louisiana and having to dodge gators on the highway.
They're evil sons of bitches.
That thing was about twice as long as my car and was trying to snap at my tires.
They're evil. Unchanged for millions of years. Cold-blooded, literally.
Some of the crap that I've watched bison do to tourists is some of the funnest stuff. I mean, no, 2 years ago now. So, well, you start with the woman who tried to pet the bison calf, and mom ended up charging her, hooking her pants and spinning her around like a top and throwing her naked into the ditch.
What?
There was the one who the guy kept trying to push to make it get off the road, so he kept pushing his car right into the back of the bison, and finally the bison just backed up off his butt right onto the hood of the car, just relieved himself on the hood of the car.
No bueno.
They're mean old cousins. These people that try to mess with the bison, I'm like, Just because cattle are usually subdued doesn't mean bison are, just because they're both bovine.
Yeah.
You're like comparing like a little timid deer to a moose. It ain't gonna happen. I've had experiences with moose too, but that was up in Montana too. I mean,
You've just met every animal.
Yeah, seriously.
all of them I can. Granted, I still go down to the zoos to hang out with the animals that aren't native to this area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Misha, I like my tiger girl. I love hanging out with Misha.
I like our zoo, like even though yeah, like we actually have a subspecies of mountain lion that lives mainly in the south called the Florida panther. And they have a couple of Florida panthers at the zoo, and there was always one that would hiss at me like around feeding time. And I made it worse.
It recognized you every time? Like,
yes.
Hey, there's that guy.
It hated my guts.
This picture is an exhibit of me. This is from me out tracking eagles, photographing them in the winter.
That's cool.
It's me.
I could
That's
see the relationship between you and the bald eagle, because bald eagles kind of have this naturally angry face.
No, it's the females that have the naturally angry face. The ones that look more slender in the face and have that confused look are usually the males.
Sounds about right.
That sounds exactly right.
And actually, in bald eagles, the females are the head of the family and the main hunter. The males are about 30% smaller than the females.
Yeah.
There you go.
female eagles are vicious things. There's a reason why nobody messes with a matriarch. The biggest, meanest eagles, those are the old women who've had 10, 15 years of babies, and they don't take nobody's shit for nothing.
Yeah. Don't mess with eagles.
That's like the grandmother who's raised 10 kids and 30 grandkids, and she's sick of everyone's shit, and if you mouth off to her, she'll pop you in the back of the head and rip you apart.
Yeah.
Sounds like my grandma.
That's awesome.
My grandma was pretty mean.
She just wasn't having it. She was like, I'm not having any of this.
I ain't having it.
So who is Magna?
So part of the mystery that you will discover is to find out her true identity, but you get a fun ride if you get volumes 1 and 2. The story starts off where, it's a period piece as well. So this book is set in 1942. So we get to touch on some fun history. I mean, you've got in the United States, you've got, World War II is threatening, but in Europe, it's in full blown effect. So, you get to see the effects of what's going on in Finland, particularly with regards to Russia, and you get to see some of the kind of the post-war effects, whites versus the reds, and it's all part of kind of her history as she starts to figure out who she is, because she learns that she's adopted, and this takes her on a journey, and she ends up with this hodgepodge group of deities. So, and they're the last deities, at least we think, on the planet. So they've come together for survival. So these deity members are being hunted. She's now become a part of them. She's figuring out who she is, and she's figuring out kind of what her role is in, helping these last members of these known deities to stay alive. So it's a fun story. You get some historical pieces. That's what I love about comics. You can totally hodgepodge. I love. When I say I love World War II, it's because it's horrific and fascinating at the same time.
Totally.
So you kind of get those elements. You get just the fun elements of seeing some of these deity members, kind of in their kind of post-glory days and trying to survive, and kind of what they've been relegated to in some regards, without all the worship they used to have. And then you have this extraordinary young woman as she's figuring out who she is.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
I'm just I feel like she's got to be connected to the gods somehow.
That you wouldn't be wrong.
I'm not gonna pry too much, because I know that you can't give that away. But
yeah, there's some linkages that are more obvious than others, but there's still some. It's like any trope. It's all about how you deliver it. There's still some curveballs in there. Then you're like, oh, okay, that was cool. I didn't see that coming.
This cover really gets me.
Yeah, so you get to choose between your cover options. So that one where she's wrestling, and that was the kind of the cool thing, is at first I was looking at kind of like African wrestling stuff, and I'm like, no, we're going, wrestling style. We're going, we're doing some ECW stuff on this one. So, you got that leg lock on Magna, and foot on the back of her head. I love that cover. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of these covers, honestly.
Oh no, it gives me depraved thoughts that I can't share on air.
Covers can do that at times.
So does this page.
Well, you know what? I wanted to show that, hey, the cover wasn't a fake out. There's a good fight. There's a good fight in there. I mean, you've done that. I'm sure, back in the day, you saw something on the cover, you bought the book, and nothing even related to that cover happened in the book, and you're like, come on, man.
Yeah, that bugged the hell out of me.
Yeah, you're like, come on, I bought it because I thought something like this was going to happen. So just wanted folks to know that you're going to get that fight. I only showed a little bit of it, but it's a good one.
The art is so good.
Thank you, my man. Thank you. So the penciler on this is Marcio Abreu, and he's a phenomenal artist. He did some work on Red Sonja for Dynamite. So I knew he had the ability to really kind of come alongside me, help design the different pantheons so that they all have their own individual flair and feel, and be able to draw the characters in a way that, wow, women look like women and men look like men. I never thought we'd be in the comic book world and that would be like a phenomenal thing.
That sounds really foreign to me.
It does.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
It sounds abstract. You may get banned for that, but.
I'm just going to say, I lean towards siding with all the people with giant boob dart. Go boob Dan. I mean, for all these people who whine about wanting representation, I want representation too, and I don't see enough girls with these.
Yeah, that's because they're being banned somehow.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, when you grow these, it's not just in entertainment. Women, especially, they treat you abusively from the moment you grow them. I was 10 and I was getting called horrific sexual slurs by other women for having a chest. They automatically treat you like you're dumber, sluttier, or somehow sleeping your way for everything you get in life if you have a chest.
That's like some serious jealousy.
Yeah.
Itty Bitty Titty Club apparently is a little jealous their mosquito bites aren't mountains. I mean...
you know what? It's funny because, it's actually kind of sad, that's a thing because, people can say what they want to say, but, dudes are never going to be mad at that. Well, there's a lot of dudes that I guess don't really like women now, so I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'll take it all back. I don't know.
I don't know what to say because I can guarantee you guys like looking at these because I've dealt with enough of them over the years.
All you have to do if you feel like you're getting in trouble, you just cover yourself by going, well, wait, diversity, inclusion, androgyny.
Oh no!
How much more diverse do I need to get? I am a mixed race, big-chested, red-headed Native woman who's got albino skin, who's disabled legally because of medical issues. How much more diverse do I need to get?
You need to conform in order to be diverse.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of a percentage at this point.
Right?
I know. So in the minds of white people from California, you don't exist.
Yeah.
White people in California can go do this.
I was
what?
really, this page has everything I love in it, all in one.
Yeah. So
Zeus, and I believe that's Thor.
So you have on this page, so I'll let you know. So you have Ares.
Ares. Oh,
you have Zeus, and you have Hermes, and then my favorite depiction is my depiction. So my Heracles is probably the furthest. He's the furthest. My Heracles is the furthest departure from what he is of all the gods and goddesses. He's the furthest departure from what he actually is in mythology.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see he's dressed all up like the Nemean lion.
Yeah. His Nemean lion is like a it's
a furry suit.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Jesus.
He's wearing the whole lion like he's a furry dude.
Oh man.
His story is a very different story, compared to the others. To the other gods, pretty much kind of on point. With him, I was just kind of like, well.
Oh my God! You even have Sun Wukong.
Yeah, bro.
Jesus, how did I not notice that before?
So I've got Sun Wu. I've got, kind of the four major dragons, north, south, east, and west. Got the Monkey King, got Guan Yin, got So I mean, this is the stuff that I love, and just being able to kind of bring all these elements together in one, in one adventure.
How long is this campaign going to be live?
You guys are lucky I didn't yell. I hate tourists. Their brain cells are actively missing.
But tourists?
Yeah,
Oh, their brains are on vacation. That's why. So
they tried to hit the front of the car just now.
So this is, I think,
There's a reason why the local saying is, if it's called tourist season, why can't we shoot them?
It's not good for the tourist economy.
Lordy.
It'd be fun for us.
So yeah, man. So I think there's 5 days left in the first 30, and then we'll go into the second 30.
Because I definitely have to back this. I need to get the money first.
No, I understand, brother. I understand.
But this has like this is everything I love all mixed into one. Like, good Lord.
But that's the beauty of comics. You know, at the end of the day, it's like, what's your budget? It's your page rate and your imagination. So why not bring all these different elements together?
Yeah, no, I hear it.
Into one book, you know?
Definitely.
So if you look at, the posse, it has like, this is set in the Decapolis, which is my version of New York, but it has 10 boroughs instead of 5. So you have like some of that classic kind of New York, gangster kind of feel to it. You've got, the very supernatural feel to it. You saw those characters, the dinos, because who doesn't love dinosaurs, bro? And then you have these large anthropomorphic dinosaurs. Forget about it. It's over.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then, so the way the story works is you have 2 protagonists, Ulysses Sanchez and Devin Willis, and they're both incarcerated in a privatized prison, and they're both from rival gangs, and they have life sentences. And it ends up in this privatized prison that there's experimentation going on. And this has to do with not just this comic, but if you ever read Black Tiger, which is another book that I've made, this starts to describe how metahumans, kind of exist, in this world. And these guys, their powers manifest, and they end up inadvertently leading a jailbreak out of this privatized prison. And it just, these guys all flood into the Decapolis. So Ulysses and Devin and some other guys got to put aside their differences. They're the posse, and they got to clean up the Decapolis, because from all these superpowered criminals that are now running wild. So like the whole kind of criminal hierarchy is turned up on its head. So think of each borough as having its own magi, having its own kind of criminal hierarchy. So when all these guys flood in there, some of them take over certain areas, take over certain boroughs. Some of them, like the dinos, they're just thugs for hire. So as long as you're willing to pay them, whoever's going to pay them the most, they're going to go wreck shop for those guys. So everything is just thrown into
mercenaries. Yay!
Yeah, you got to love those guys. So they're kind of like my, so I say it's like, it kind of has like a New York mafia style, but with heroes for hire, with.
If you're going to have mercenary bands, you have to have points where you have the bands fighting with each other because different people hire different people from the same band.
And you know what? And if we didn't do that, we would be remiss. There's a lot.
Because a true mercenary, they don't care. You're from my brothers, but I got paid to kill you. So
I got paid, exactly. These guys are just in it to get paid. That's it. Which is
the whole honor among thieves thing doesn't exist in mercenaries. I'm telling you. I mean,
no. Those guys are getting paid, and that's that. And that's what makes the story fun. You have these different elements, these different characters with different motivations, and it's also part of the bigger universe. So just nice. That's a 76-page graphic novel for the posse, and each of the Magna ones are each 76 pages. So if you get volumes 1 and 2 of Magna, you get the full first story arc.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's nearly 160 pages.
I wish I could afford to make my books that long. Like, unfortunately.
Yay, it's over 100.
Each issue of Outlaw
the
Nights
first.
is only like 25 pages right now because that's all I can afford to do.
No, I hear you. It's not.
Ugh.
It's not cheap to make books by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
It is not cheap.
damn.
And that's part of the squad. You saw my wife is my editor, and
Nice.
yeah, she's really good. She's a really great technical editor. She's also the one that, handles a lot of things on the fulfillment side.
Hell yeah.
She keeps things moving. So, yeah, man, I'm excited for the project. The book is produced. It's 100%. All 3 books are 100% produced. So once the campaign closes, we're gonna get to shipping.
Amen, man. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Your campaign is the kind of campaign I'm aspiring to be like.
Oh man, thanks, brother. Appreciate that.
Like, good Lord, this is like perfect. So everybody out there, if y'all haven't backed this yet, you got to get on it because you're nuts if you don't back this. I mean, Jesus.
Man, I appreciate that, brother.
Lordy.
Just like all of us, man. Just trying to put some good product out there, and then, hopefully just get some eyeballs and get some folks that are interested in picking it up.
Amen, man.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah. And Rosetta is in a store?
Yep.
What is that? Walmart?
No. Hell no.
Why hell no?
Because I do not use Walmart purses. Walmart purses suck.
If I could live in a Walmart, I probably would.
Well,
Not everything
Walmart
you
has their purpose, but for purses, no. They'll break in 2 uses.
But you get them at those low prices.
Yeah, no.
That's true. Just saying.
Look, I'm redneck enough. I have no shame in going to Walmart's, but not for purses.
Well, yeah, let's see. It is about to be 4 o'clock, so it is about that time to wrap it up for today. But guys, thank you so much for coming on. Magna and the Posse is freaking awesome. And John, where can we find you?
You can find me at Beyond Time Inc. on Twitter and on Insta, and also on YouTube. So holla at your boy.
Amen, man. And Rosetta, where can we find you when you're not in the store?
Oh, usually I'm either knocking trolls around on Twitter or on my channel. Just search Eagle Rider. It comes up underneath the bike company.
Nice.
Nice.
And let me take one quick second here to be shameless. This is Rosetta's favorite part.
When you sign off,
No, it's the part where I'm shameless. And I
No, you mean my favorite part to give you shit for. Oh, okay.
I know how much you're so excited about Outlaw Nights.
Yeah.
Everybody, she just doesn't understand how freaking awesome it is.
This is my thing. I have to give him shit. That's the reason I'm here.
But Outlaw Nights, Genesis of a Renegade Part 2, the mailing list, we are getting very close to our goal. The goal is to get at least 100 people on the list, and then I'll be able to actually schedule the launch date.
Nice.
But we are up to 81 signups.
Let's go,
So-
folks.
We're getting right to the finish line. So let's get it going, because I got more space pirate adventures for y'all.
Let's go.
We got a great arc building here. I know where the story's going, and it's like I want to get to more exciting parts in the story. Damn it! But you know,
that's part of the challenge, though. It's like, you're trying to tell the story, you're trying not to rush it, but at the same time, you're like, man,
No, I know. I like because of the funding issues and all. It's like we've had to go kind of at a snail's pace. So it's like I'm hoping to get this thing going, but sign up for Outlaw Nights.
Sign up for it. I signed up for it, I think, when we were on Karshina's.
Yes, indeed. I remember that, and I know you backed issue 1 too,
Yep.
and I appreciate the hell out of that.
You got it, brother. Let's go. It's Indie Comics. That's the way, people. This is the way.
And as always, everyone, I am Ben, aka the Fuseboxx, and you can find me right here every Saturday. And John, anytime you want to come back, let me know, bud. Like, you're welcome anytime.
He likes having somebody else here to keep me from teasing him the entire time.
That's correct.
Hey, man, I'd love to hop on, just chop it up. We got to talk about a whole bunch of fun stuff. Got to talk about mythology. Got to talk about, what's going on, what's going on in the culture. All that good stuff. That's good stuff.
But yeah, I'm down. I'm down anytime you're down.
You got it, brother.
And and also you can find me on Twitter at Knights Outlaw, and you can find me on Instagram as just Outlaw Knights. And thank you so much, everybody, and we will talk to you all later.
Later.